Time to light it up.
Welcome back, people, to Box Office Maniacs and our Franchise Fridays, and we're continuing our Franchise Fridays with some more summer films, and the summer film we decided to do, of course, was the Jaws franchise. And what else do we have to follow that first film up with? Of course, we have to follow it up with Jaws 2.
And here it is. This is Jaws 2 on Blu-ray. This thing is like literally like $7 is what I got it for on Amazon. So, you know, these movies will not break you. And they're, I don't know about the first one, but Jaws 2, 3, and 4 were all like $7. I mean, again, they're not going to break you, and it's something fun to watch during the summer at least.
And the thing about them being on Blu-ray and us getting them on Blu-ray and all is because this is actually the first time these were ever put on Blu-ray. They've never been on Blu-ray before this, so the only one that made it to Blu-ray was, of course, the first film. So when it comes to the sequels, this is the first time for them. But I will say this, all the extras that are actually on this movie are included in this movie, in this Jaws 2 film, is the same exact extras that were on the DVD. But they're pretty cool extras, and I actually enjoyed them quite a bit.
Yeah, and we will be reviewing the full extras, and I agree. I was really surprised. First, I was surprised there was any extras at all on this disc, and then when I went to the extra section, I had this whole list of stuff, and I was like, oh wow, they actually have extras on this. I was surprised.
Yeah, and being that I'd never really even seen any real extras to it at all, I never knew anything about the behind the scenes story of how they even made this movie. I didn't know any of that before watching the DVD and now the Blu-ray, of course. So I never knew anything about how they made this movie. I didn't even know there were deleted scenes to it. I didn't know anything about this movie.
I gotta say, I like the poster. I think the poster's pretty cool for this, with the water skier and then Jaws coming up in the background. And, you know, they use the same Jaws picture for every Jaws cover. But it's a cool cover. I like it. I think it's pretty nice.
I think it was a decent, basically remake of the poster, you know, from Jaws 1. Because in Jaws 1, they show the shark and then you have somebody swimming above it. Here you've got the lady water skiing. There is another poster, though, that they used for Jaws 2, where again they show the shark coming up from the water, but instead of the person swimming across the top, you have the two characters in the movie, Tina and Eddie, I think were their characters' names.
Jaws 2 is not a bad movie. It's not Jaws 1 by any stretch of the imagination, but as a good just action film, I think it's really good. I think they did a really good job with it.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And usually this one does get a lot of flack. Usually there's a lot of people that go, the sequels were just terrible. And the shark still looked fake. And they just complain about it. You know, a lot of the fans of Jaws, they don't even, it's almost to the point they don't even regard Jaws even having sequels. I mean, it's that bad. And I can understand that with the 3 and the 4, but with this one, I actually really like this movie, and I've got another story for you guys about Jaws 2. During the summer, me and my family would often take little vacation trips during the summer. We were out of school. My mom was actually taking care of my grandmother at that time, so we just went on a road trip, and we ended up going to Branson, Missouri, and going to the Ozarks and all around that area. We went to the different shows and the different amusement parks and all that they have down there. And then one night we were in our hotel and we were like, well, let's go out and just do something. We didn't have any real plans. we just decided to go out and do something. So we went and had dinner. And then the next thing I knew was my grandmother's looking in the paper and she says, "Oh, Jaws 2 is showing. You want to go see Jaws?" And she says this to my mom. And my mom is like, "Well, we got the kids with us,
That's way too scary.
Might have been 7 or 8, so I don't know if I really want them to see that." And she's like, "Oh, it'll be fine. Let's go. Let's just have fun. Let's just go see it."
We're gonna be seeing some pretty hairy stuff in this movie.
Looking at this great big huge screen, because I was, like I said, 7 or 8, and sitting almost up front on top of this screen, and seeing some of these scenes that happen in Jaws 2, it was like, there's the scene where the one lady falls off the boat, and Sean Brody is on the, because her boat has already been capsized. He's sitting on top of the boat because she just helped him back onto the boat, and she's trying to grab the rope and everything, pull herself up, and Jaws comes up underneath her.
Just go with your fear.
That scene has been etched in my mind ever since. Part at the very end of the film where Brody, Sheriff Brody, played by Roy Scheider again, gets out on this electrical cable, and he's in a little rubber raft, and he's going across this electrical cable, and he's trying to call Jaws to him. So he picks up this paddle and starts smacking the paddle against the electrical cable. My mother and my grandma sat there and laughed at that scene. "What, are you crazy? Don't do that!
Stop it. Get some help.
He's coming right for you!" And they're all screaming, And my mom and my grandmother was laughing. And part of the reason they were laughing at this wasn't just because it was kind of cheesy and kind of corny. They were doing this so that me and my brother, who was also younger than me, me and my younger brother are sitting there watching this film. They were doing that so that I actually wouldn't get scared of the film. So there's like portions of this movie that, my mom could tell that I was going, and so she would kind of laugh at it so that I wouldn't be so scared of it. And that she would be able to actually talk to me about it later. And then actually, I'll be able to watch horror movies from that point on and not necessarily get scared of it and have more fun with it. That's parenting.
Actually, getting back to this movie, it was a good movie. It was a good, solid movie. Once again, Roy Scheider, amazing performance as Brody, and his wife is in here, and the mayor is in here. You got all the characters back. Of course, his sons are grown up, so you got different actors playing them. But, here's the character you cared about in the first movie, and you still care about him in the second film. In the extras we'll get to, they show the shark a lot more in this movie, because basically the director's like, well, we never got to see him in the first movie, so I'm just going to show him through this entire film now. Which actually wasn't bad. I mean, I don't think it took away the tension. And I thought the shark looked great in this movie. I thought he looked fantastic. He looked really, really cool and very frightening that you got to actually see the shark every 5 minutes in this movie.
So yeah, when you're talking about us getting to the extras here, they actually kind of explain that in the extras. Is one thing that happened was that between the first film and the second film, they actually improved on some of the mechanics and the animatronics and everything for Jaws. It wasn't a spectacular improvement because they did have lots of problems with it still, because every time they put it down in the ocean, which once again, that's exactly what they were doing here, was filming out in the ocean. So once it got down in the ocean and got a hold of all that salt water, it started breaking down all the mechanics, and all of that started to just corrode almost immediately. So that's what was happening with it. But in here they improved on it so they could use the shark just a bit more. And they made some different camera angles as well.
I actually liked the story here. I thought the story was really good. It wasn't Spielberg, obviously, but they did get John Williams back, which I didn't even know, to tell you the truth, to do this soundtrack again, which was great to hear John Williams doing the soundtrack over again. So, overall, I thought it was just really a great film. And I'm going to give it a rating. We didn't give the first one a rating, but I'll give this one a rating. A solid 4 out of 5. Thought it was really good, really entertaining. Not the classic, obviously, that the first one was. But if you're one of the people who are like, I am never watching a sequel to Jaws, give this one a chance. I think you will probably enjoy it.
I pretty much second everything that David said. I love this film. From the very first time I saw it, even when I was 7 years old, sitting in that movie theater, I actually really enjoyed this film. It's not, like David said, it's not the classic like Jaws, the original Jaws is, but it's a decent sequel. And I think that it also has still kind of a Spielberg-esque feel to it. I loved it. Oh, and by the way, this is a film with Angel in it.
Everything in life has a price on it, Angel. Somewhere down the line, you're gonna have to pay.
It's my life.
Angel, her two worlds are about to collide.
I loved it, and I would also give the movie a solid 4 out of 5.
Now for the good stuff.
First off, we have deleted scenes. And the first thing they show here on the deleted scenes is really cool, and it's really well acted, and I don't understand why they cut this out of the movie, because it was a great sequence and a great scene, and it built Brody's character a little bit more in this film. And it was basically him and his wife are going into town, and her boss parked in a non-parking zone. So Brody gets out and starts writing him a ticket, and her boss comes out and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm writing you a ticket." And it was a really great scene. It was really well done.
I wish they would have put in the deleted scene with the where the Jaws was eating the helicopter. I kind of wish they would have left that one in there. That, I mean, to me, it was about, what, 4 or 5 seconds long. I think they could have handled putting that in there.
All right, next up is the making of Jaws 2.
The making of this Jaws 2 was pretty much about as long as the movie, in which I was really surprised about. And I think it's one of the best extras on it, and it's very informative.
And they talk the entire thing about how they made the film, from where they wrote the script and what happened to the script and how they got the directors and how they got the actors and how they built the shark and how they got Brody back and how they got all the characters back. And it's a great documentary on the making of Jaws. And out of all the stuff, this really surprised me. I was like, wow, this is cool. It told me all the stuff I didn't even know I needed to know or wanted to know. And here it was. It was great.
I really enjoyed it.
Up next is Jaws 2, A Portrait by Keith Gordon.
Hey, don't you like this beer? I thought you liked beer. Did you hear what I just said?
This is a really interesting one as well. I'm not even sure why it's on here. If you don't know who Keith Gordon is, he was, I guess his most famous role was when he was played Ernie Cunningham in Christine.
Let me tell you a little something about love, Dennis. It has voracious appetite.
Now he's like a producer, writer, director. I don't know what he does, but he don't act anymore. And he basically talked about how he got the role in Jaws and what it was like to be on the set and film. And it was a really interesting interview. It's not very long during the down times. Rather than having the director sit everybody around and just not do anything, he's like, get on the boats, go out and practice sailboating. And they're like, oh, we don't want to do that. But they all got on the boats and they had to go, around the ocean and practice sailboating. And it was a really good interview, really well done. Next up, we have John Williams and the music of Jaws 2. It's always great to hear John Williams talk. And it's really great to hear him talk about his music, especially the Jaws 2 soundtrack, because I do have the first Jaws soundtrack, and I think I got it for like $1 at the flea market or something. I don't remember where I got it from, but it said on there, the first time ever, the complete Jaws soundtrack. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I think like a lot of people, I expected it to be like, dun dun, dun dun. Great soundtrack. The first Jaws soundtrack is outstanding. So when you get to the second one, I didn't even know he did the music for the second one, which was kind of surprising. And it's great. It's absolutely, he did a fantastic job with it. And he sit there and talks about, well, he gets more excited about doing an original soundtrack for something rather than a sequel. But then he says, over his career, since he'd done all these Star Wars films, he's pretty much gotten used to doing sequels to to the soundtrack, and sometimes he's like, well, now I don't mind doing sequels as much because I can try to improve on what I did before, and it's fun thinking, can I outdo what I did before? And it's just a really short interview with him, but it's really good. Next up is The French Joke. This is also really, really short, but the guy who directed Jaws 2 was French, and when they released it, like the first one in France, he said that the translation, they couldn't use Jaws because it didn't translate well or whatever, so they used The Teeth of the Sea was what it was called in France, which is kind of a cool title, The Teeth of the Sea. Now, if he wanted to call it The Teeth of the Sea 2, again, it didn't transfer into the French language as it would the English language.
Merdeux, unfortunately, is an adjective which applies to merde, which in France means shit. So they couldn't release it under that title. So they released it under the title Les Dents de la Mer, deuxième partie, which means The Teeth of the Sea, second part.
Last up is the storyboards, and again, this is what it sounds like. It's all the storyboards to the movie, so if you're into that, you can watch this. And finally, there is the trailer for the movie, and again, it's just the trailer. Overall, I was really impressed by these extras. I think they did a really good job. None of them are really weak. I mean, they're all worth watching, even the short ones, and especially the making of Jaws 2. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really good. So, yeah, if you enjoyed Jaws 2, pick this up. You know, if not for the movie and the quality of the transfer, pick it up for the extras, because there's some good stuff here. So there you go. There is Jaws 2 for this summer and for Franchise Friday. So if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we want as many of you maniacs out there to come back and watch Jaws 3, which is in 3D.
Now I've got a story for Jaws 3 as well.